what do you think is the biggest lesson you have learned from your own relationship experience?
All right. So, you know, I always say what comes to me. So I don't know if this is truly the biggest lesson, but it's what's hitting me right now. And that is and I wish there was more men. So I saw this one guy, shout out to John something. I think the one guy that's on this live, I have to recognize you since you're out there. But one of the things as a man that I recognize is the need to master my masculine energy and learn how to love in the masculine. I think a lot of men don't understand that concept. We're never taught it. And what happens to a lot of men when they fall for a woman is they unknowingly slide into their feminine. All right. And it can make them become unattractive to that woman in various ways. All right. And because society and even movies and things like that, they teach men to just love the woman and put on a pedestal and do this and do that. And it's like, okay, don't get me wrong, treat her like a queen, but you got to maintain boundaries. You have to learn how to draw a line in the sand. You have to understand how to be composed in your love, not be this unstable, emotional man because you don't know how to handle it. Because again, men already are not taught how to handle emotions in a general sense, okay? But then even more so when it comes to falling for a woman. And so what happens to a lot of dudes that I don't think women understand and realize is that, like I always say, behind every player is a story of a man who got played, all right? So what women don't understand is that even the dude who grew up being running these streets, at some point in his life, he meets a woman that he falls for deeply, that he pretty much says, yo, I will give up all the women for this woman right here, all right? But again, he's never learned how to love in his masculine. He may have been not healed from certain things, whatever's going on. So he does not know how to properly, emotionally, maturely handle this situation and handle her struggles, because she may struggle with her own lack of healing. She may struggle with her own underdevelopment emotionally, all right? And so he may react out of frustration to that. He may do things that make the situation worse because he's not taught properly. So now she ends up breaking his heart and he ends up swearing off all women. And he becomes an even worse player than he ever was before. Now he trusts no woman. Now it's like they're all trapped, whatever. But it all stems from the fact that he was not, or men in general were not taught how to love within our masculine. And so to me, I think that has been a huge eye-opener for me and something that I definitely want to help more men understand and connect with. You know, how to still be that masculine presence, but still love your woman deeply. You know what I'm saying? Still treat her like a queen, but still be respected in the way that you need to be respected for the proper balance of energy to remain in that relationship.
Absolutely. And you know, what's funny to me, you're talking about men being in their feminine. And I feel one thing I've noticed when I've talked a lot with people about, you know, masculine and feminine energy is that a lot of women now operate in their masculine, right? Yeah. You know, where we're so used to providing for ourselves. We're so used to, a lot of women are a lot of times single mothers or caretakers and caregivers. Sometimes, you know, and I can't speak for every woman out there. I can only speak from my truth. You know, I grew up with an absentee father. You know, a lot of times where my father should have stepped in, it was me stepping in, taking care of certain things. So, you know, it's been a lot of healing that had to take place with me to get deeper and deeper back into my feminine, which is such a lovely space to be in. Like, I love it here. I love it here. I wish I could have been here my whole life, right? And I think sometimes, you know, as people, we don't always see, you know, how we come off to others until like a little bit later you start to pay attention to certain little things and you're just like, wait a minute, I might need to work on a few things. So I'm happy to hear you say that. Do you think that that's something that you've worked on, or do you think that that's something you still need to work on before your next relationship?
No, it's not, because it's it's more about being aware than about working on it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that I'm fully aware now. My eyes are wide open, and so I don't have any concerns of me being able to handle it going forward. Now I did see one of the guys ask, "How do you love in your masculine?" I'm just gonna give one example real quick. All right, at the core of it is learning to love without being afraid to lose. Okay, and look at it like this. A lot of times when the man, and this can happen to a woman too, but we're speaking about men, when the
Mm-hmm.
man is afraid to lose the woman, one, he starts to compromise who he truly is as a man, if he even knows himself yet, because he's trying so hard to accommodate this woman, not realizing that in allowing her to continuously cross lines she should not be allowed to cross. And we're talking about keeping things in a respectful, healthy manner. So, for example, if you allow her to talk to you all crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you may think that by doing this, you're trying to accommodate her and be patient and kind, but you're losing her respect because you're letting her treat you like a child. You're letting her talk down to you. She cannot respect the man who lets her run over him like that. So you've got to be able to draw the line. Like I was, you got to check her. And I don't mean check her in a negative way, in a respectful, loving way that says, okay, this is not going to be tolerated. And understand that being able to draw that line and check her will actually, if she cares, if she actually genuinely likes you or cares about you, will only turn her on more. It will only draw her in more. But again,
Absolutely.
because men are not taught how to stay in the masculine and love, they let that line get pushed too far. And again, in the fear of losing her, it's almost like, imagine the man going to his woman on his knees, baby, please don't leave me. I don't know what to do. I'm going to die without you. And you think this overexpression is making you look good. It don't make you look good. It makes you look weak. Being able to stand strong and say, listen, I love you. I don't want to lose you. But I'm not going to accept certain things in this relationship. So you see, you are still expressing love. You are still letting her know, I want you, I care about you, I will do for you as you need me to do. But
Mm-hmm.
you are still going to be held to a standard. And if you can't accept that, then we can't have this relationship. And I'm telling you, if she gives a damn about you, she will only respect you more. She will only love you more. And so that's an example of how we have to learn how to love in the masculine and not allow this any woman to run on over us because we're afraid to lose her or afraid to lose her love. Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't lose her love either way you look at it if you do it like that.
I completely agree. I know you can't necessarily speak from a woman's perspective, but the one thing I've learned, right? One, my femininity flourishes around true masculine energy, because at one point I was dating men and I realized a lot of times I was so in my masculine because I was providing for myself, and I was dating men who wanted to take from me but wasn't offering me anything, right? I didn't have emotional security with them. I didn't have physical or financial security with them. So I stayed in my masculine. That's one. And I realized that I was in a relationship at one point where I felt like my femininity was flourishing, right? He had his boundaries, right? And at the same time, he still loved on me. He would still tell me that he loved me. He still tell me he cared for me. He would still, do certain things for me. And I realized that as a woman, I became like this healing space, right? So loving from my femininity, it was like, you could be rough with the rest of the world, but you can be soft with me, right? You can lay here with me. You can relax with me, and I know that before it was like, I didn't always feel like, if you talk about stereotypical things that have been associated with womanhood, right? It would be like cooking and all of these different things. But with the right man, baby, I was Martha Stewart in that kitchen, okay? What you want, baby? What you need? You want me to twerk while I cook? I'll twerk while I cook, okay? Right? And those are just some of the things that I realized about being in my femininity and being with someone who was in their masculinity, right? It's such a natural yin and yang, it's such a natural give and take. It doesn't require a lot of effort. If I have to force myself to be feminine, quote unquote, with you, then 9 times if it's not happened naturally, that means there might be a lack of respect there for some type of reason, right? Just like you were saying, a woman wants wants to respect her man. A man wants to feel respected, but it has to be a balance, and we have to balance each other, which means that either we're just not equally yoked for each other in this fashion at this moment, or, you know, not compatible. So all of that, I would agree. Like, as far as your knowledge of relationships, where do you feel like you get some of the knowledge from? But your prior relationships, of course, will be one, right? But where else do you think some of your dope content comes from?
So I feel that what's hitting my spirit right now that I gotta say as an answer to this is I really feel like a huge part of my knowledge came from being abstinent. So
Okay.
there was a run where I was like abstinent for 5 years. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people don't like to be abstinent and to not be pursuing relationships, sex, whatever. We don't realize how much the desire for intimacy can blind us. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't allow us to see things fully. So as a man, pulling back completely in that way, intentionally, not just you in a drought, because you know we all been in the drought sometimes, but to intentionally do it. Now I'm more in tune with what I can see clearer. I can, when this woman reacts this way, I can be more in tune with why this is happening. And now because I'm more in tune with it and I'm paying attention to it, I can discuss it. And by discussing it, I can discover more information. So a lot of it is, of course, is God and being more spiritually in tune. But I think removing the distractions allows us to see things deeper. And so by me
Mm-hmm.
going through a time where I was abstinent, and I wasn't just abstinent, man, like, because I ain't gonna front. I'm a sexual dude. I got a lot of sexual energy. That's just is what it is, right? So for me, it wasn't just don't have sex. Like I had to just remove myself from the environments completely. Because, you know, I grew up in Miami. I used to party. I'm Caribbean. We used to party all the time. I used to throw parties, you know what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
knew if I kept putting myself in those environments, I'm gonna get myself into trouble. So by removing myself from all of that, all those distractions, it really opened me up to a greater level of understanding of people, not just relationships, because relationships is about understanding men and women. And it let
Mm-hmm.
me see things more clearly in that regard.
Okay. Absolutely beautiful. And you know, it takes so much discipline. Everything you're talking about right now is just like also such a major factor of like cultivating that spiritual discipline, but also like that physical and mental discipline within yourself as well. So that's really, really dope to hear. Okay. Now I'm gonna ask a question I know the ladies want to know, just based off of seeing the comments. All right. I feel like you know what I'm about to ask, right?
I don't
What
know, but I'm getting ready.
Okay. So when it comes to, you know, a woman who might feel as though like, okay, what type of woman does Stephan want? I can already figure that you would want a God-fearing woman, right? And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but what type of woman, right, do you feel you're looking for? Or are you even in the spirit now of pursuing a relationship yet?
Well, I'm always open. So let that be known. I'm always open. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know when God's gonna slap you over the head with your next blessing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm open to it. But as far as like what I look for in a woman, to me, one, I feel the need to say this because I've heard from a lot of different women that I may come off intimidating at times, right? And so yeah. So I think it's important. I want people to understand, like, yo, I'm just I'm a regular person. I'm a regular person. I stay humble. That's the way I promised God when I went on this journey, I would always remain humble. Um, but as far as what I'm looking for, it's about, to me, one, it's about connection first and foremost. Like at the foundation of it, she can have X, Y, Z, but if the connection is not there, then it ain't gonna happen. And of course, God has to co-sign it. So I gotta be able to pray, and God says, "Yo, this is it." If those two
Mhm.
things aren't there, it doesn't matter. But outside of connection and talking to God, it's about feminine energy. I'm big on feminine energy. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So a woman who's in tune with that, comfortable with that, knows how to walk in it. Um, Positivity. You know, you got to realize I'm a relationship coach. I deal with people's struggles and issues and feelings and a lot of negative energy. So I don't need a partner who's going to bring me more negative energy. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we're going to all have negative moments, but a woman who knows how to be positive, you know what I'm saying? That's a big thing. I'm also about our presentation. You know, I'm big on eating healthy, keeping myself up, working out, things of that nature. She doesn't have to be the same as me, but I want her to embrace healthy living. You know what I'm saying? I don't want at me like, damn, why you gotta eat like that? Or why you gotta do this? And nah, like, be on the same page. We gotta be on the same page. And of course, spiritually being on the same page as well. To me, those are the main things. But I will say, I feel the need to also mention, I like a woman who likes to look good. And I say that because I've had conversations with my homeboys recently. I'll say one in particular was like, yo, just find a girl, even if she's, you know, looks decent, just work with her. And I'm like, yo, you don't understand. Every woman doesn't care to present herself a certain way. Every woman doesn't care to put in the effort for that. You know what I'm saying? Some women like looking good, like getting dressed, like getting their hair done, nails done, things like that. Some women want to just be laid back and chill. They don't want to deal with all that. You know what I'm saying? And there are dudes who like to lay back and chill. You don't need to dress up. And there's some dudes who like you to look good. Like, I'm the dude who's gonna encourage you to look damn good when we walk outside. I'm not gonna tell you to dumb yourself down because I don't want people looking at you. Hell, let them look. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with that. So I want you to be shining bright all the time. So, but you gotta want that for yourself. That's gonna be in you. If it's not, that's cool. But we won't. I don't think we're for each other if you're not embracing that.
Okay, and that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I mean, you keep yourself up. And it's fair that you want a woman who is in alignment with a lot of the things that you do for yourself. That's absolutely fair. Okay. Now, one of the things as I was like preparing for our segment today is it within this sphere that I'm going to call it a sphere that we're in, right? Where we've had in the past, I want to say decade, or maybe even the past 5 or 6 or 7 years, we've had so many men in particular coming out into the relationship coaching world, right? You know, going back to my first interaction with it was Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man with Steve Harvey when he wrote his book, right? Now, a lot of people give men in this industry in particular a lot of flack. Okay, I've heard things everything from, you know, men are simping when they're giving out this advice to women. I've heard things from, and I'm quite sure you've heard it too, you know, from the fact of, you know, from a woman's perspective, a man is trying to tell women what to do or what to be. Why not focus on men and tell them what to do and what to be? Okay, right? What do you think, first of all, is the biggest, I guess, misconception of maybe you or even the industry that you're in?
So one of the biggest misconceptions of, I'll start with me, is I think, and it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, I think sometimes people view me as ultra conservative because they see me as being very spiritual. And it's like, you know, I grew up in Miami and my life was not always like this. So I have various sides of me, you know what I'm saying? Or I got two sides of me, and it's all me. What you see online is me, but there's more to me than what you see online. You feel me?
Yeah.
And so I think that misconception of being, like, I think some people may see me out sometimes at a club or something and be shocked, and it's like, yo, but this is, you know, I like music, I like dancing, I like stuff like that. You know, so don't be shocked. I can love God and still enjoy myself at a party. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I see it. So I think that's the biggest misconception. And then with the industry, the one that comes to mind, I think, is just the fact that they swear everybody's trying to just ride the wave of giving women advice and take advantage. And it's like, yo, every field has bad apples. There are bad teachers, there are bad doctors, there are bad cops, whatever. So there's gonna be bad coaches, there's gonna be bad therapists. But don't project that onto everybody. You know what I'm saying? And to me, this is why I tell people, like, yo, if before you lump me into any group, if you are spiritual, pray and ask God about me. Pray and ask God if I'm genuine or not. If God tells you that I'm on some phony stuff and I'm here to just run game and take, okay, then cool. Listen to God and reject everything I say. But if God tells you that I'm a genuine person here doing the work that he's telling me to do, then embrace that and respect what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I don't expect everyone to be on board. So it's all good. You're going to have your naysayers and your negativity and all that. It's just part of the, it's what comes with it. You know what I'm saying?
How do you deal with the negativity, like as far as people coming possibly, I don't know always what your comments may look like on your page. You know, from when I see your posts, they seem mostly positive, but I'm quite
Yeah.
sure you have people who might say some negative things on there as well, because it's social media. How do you feel that you deal with that?
So honestly, I ignore it for the most part. I've
Mhm.
learned to not let that bother me. Like I remember years ago seeing people complain about how celebrities could get 1,000 positive comments, and then they get that one negative comment and they want to respond to the one negative comment. They ignored the 1,000 positive and they focus on the negative. And we have a tendency to do that, where we give more energy to the negativity than the positivity. And so I just make an effort to consciously remind myself, listen, why let that one negative comment or two negative comments make me forget about the 1,000 more showing me love, saying thank you, telling me how much this has helped them? Like, that's where my focus should be. So I'll typically just delete them. You know what I'm saying? Because I've also learned that if you let it sit there, it invites more to come. So I just delete it. And then there's some occasions, like the other day, somebody came at me real nasty on Facebook. And before I deleted it, something told me to pray about it. So I prayed. I was like, God, you want me to respond to this? And I felt God say, respond. And all I said was, did God tell you to be that rude when you addressed me? Man, people came out the woodworks to defend me and fight. she had to deal with a whole mob of people. You know what I'm saying? But she apologized. And that's what I learned. Like, don't stoop to the level of the negativity. A lot of times people are just reacting. They're in the moment. They're emotionally triggered. It's like they're not even mad at you. They're mad at
Yeah.
that person who hurt them. They're mad at the bad
Mhm.
day they're having. They're just taking it out on you. So I think it's important to just not internalize it, not take it personally. It's just life. You know, people going through stuff. If anything, pray for them and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. 100%. And I'm happy that you have that mindset, because I feel like a lot of what you're doing, having actually met you in person randomly, okay, it was so random, but having actually met you in person, your energy was like very chill. It was, and I think it was because we were in a nice setting anyway. Everyone, mad relaxed, just a really good time. So I think that you come off, to me at least, as a very genuine person.
Thank
Even when I was talking to you and I asked you random questions that night, you were super just like open and just going with the flow throughout the course of the night. So I can definitely agree with that. And I'm happy that you don't let those things rile you up. Now, something else that's been very popular, okay, is high value,
you.
this idea of what a high value man or woman is, okay? Also, the idea of what does a woman or man bring to the table. It,
Yeah.
it, it has taken over, okay, right? Social media, right? It's not something that's new, but I've just seen so many more people talking about it on their platforms. So,
Mhm.
a high value man or woman, right? From a woman, now I won't say even from a woman's perspective, from what I've seen a lot of women posting, not all, right? A lot of people talk about money first, that a high value man has money. That's the first thing people go for. Now, I have my own thoughts, okay? But I want to hear yours. What do you think a high value, and I'm using quotation marks, okay? Because I feel like it's going to differ from person to person. But do you have thoughts on this idea of a high value man or woman?
Well, so okay, my thoughts are we have to always keep things in proper context.
Mm-hmm.
There is we can discuss high value as it has been presented, um, and how it's been defined by the individual who made it popular at the time. Or we can talk about how we want to perceive what it should be, because those are two different things for people. All right. And we have to understand that when he presented it, it was based off the premise of what type of men have the most access to highly desirable women. Now, again, and even highly desirable women, we have to understand is not based on our perception of what it should be. It's based on what it is. The women who tend to get the most attention, which typically
Okay.
is about how they look. Let's just be
Mm-hmm.
real, okay? And so those type of men, yes, money plays a role. And the other factors that were named, you know, again, everyone has their definition. So I think that when we say, okay, well, what do you think a high value man is? So this is the way that I like to separate it.
Okay.
We can how it's been presented, let's call that the 1% man. All right?
Okay.
Because the 1% man is a dude that's gonna have money. All right? Because the 1% man, you're what just making six figures in this society that we live in puts you in the top like 10% of people, all right, financially. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. The whole 1% high value, whatever, it's to kind of identify that smaller segment of individuals who gain more access to the type of people that everyone's going after. That's really all it boils down to. But it doesn't speak to their actual quality of a person or a partner. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you can be a high, quote unquote, high value man and still be a garbage partner.
What
Because
you
not,
say?
huh?
I said, what you say? I'm agreeing.
Because if you listen to the definition, nothing in the definition is really about how they're treating their partner and how they pour into a woman or anything like that. It's simply about what things they have acquired and achieved that gets them, opens the door for them to have access to certain women. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Same way, a quote unquote high value woman based on that same premise can be a very highly desirable woman, but that doesn't make her an automatically great partner. So
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much to it because it's the words that I think using the word value has thrown a lot of people off. And the minute they hear value, well, some people say, well, the high value should be someone who loves God, and high value should be someone who has a great character. Okay, that's everyone throwing in their own definition. But in defense, and not to ramble on and be all over the place, but in defense of the original premise of high value,
Mm-hmm.
being good, having good character does not open the door to getting all kinds of women. That's just reality.
That's
All
true.
right? Plain and simple. Same way, being of good character for a woman don't necessarily open the door to getting all kinds of high desirable men. So it is yes, what people should be striving for. It is what would define true value in the sense of a relationship. But in regards to what gains people access to highly desirable people of the opposite sex, we're talking about a whole different ballgame.
Mm. That is true. That's absolutely true. So then when we get into the bringing to the table, right? Which I've seen people at this point going on South Beach and with the microphones asking women, because I've seen a lot of men in particular feeling, I'm not going to say every man, but a good amount feeling as if women have all of these quote unquote requirements, right? And so they're saying, well, what do you bring to the table? Right now, this has been controversial, right? Because some women feel, I've seen some women say, I am the table. Right. I've seen that. Then I've heard some women, when they answer the question, okay, they'll say that they also bring money, right? And they bring, hard work and all of these different things to the table. All right. What is it? And I guess we can go back and forth a little bit, but you can tell me from your perspective, because I'm trying to refrain from mine, right, at this moment in time. What is it when it comes to the bringing to the table conversation? One, why do you think these conversations are so popular? Okay. And then two, how do you feel about what a woman should bring to the table conversation?
All right. So one, I honestly feel, and I could be wrong, but this is my perspective. I honestly feel that the what do you bring to the table conversation has become so popular because it's given people a way to devalue someone else and put themselves on a higher. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's that way of to say, yeah, you ain't good enough. What you bring to the table? Let me invalidate you real quick so that I can make myself the prize in the situation. That's where I feel like it stems from with a lot of individuals. Now, what my perception of the whole asking a woman what she brings to the table, what concerns me about it is that I don't feel, and speaking to the men, all right, the men who are asking these questions, one, if your table was properly set, that wouldn't be the question you'd be asking.
What? You better tell
All
him.
right? Because my thing is this, the man who has or is working on himself and is about something and building something, it's not that, don't get me wrong, it's not that we are not going to evaluate the value of the woman, but the whole, what do you bring to, I don't need to ask that, because my focus is, how do I feel when I'm with you? Is that there? Am I attracted to you? It's the intangible stuff. To me, when I hear a man ask, what do you bring to table? And I'm not saying this is all men, but many of them, and I don't want this to sound bad, but I want to be honest. I'm thinking you ain't got nothing yourself. And so you're asking, what resources do you bring to me that I can take advantage of? What can I use from you? But if you have your own resources, you're not looking for that from her. You're looking for the intangible stuff that brings the whole balance of man and woman together to have an amazing relationship. Again, I'm not saying women should not, build themselves up in a certain way that they're able to bring resources, but to the man who has it, that isn't his focus. So I always say a man with money is not worried about a woman's money. All right? Plain and simple. And what I mean by that is a man who has enough money that he can handle the bills. So that's the key. Not that, because a lot of people say, I make money. Okay, yeah, but you can't take care of everything yourself. And so, and I'm not saying that to insult anybody. I'm just setting the stage of what I'm talking about here. When you have money to where you could cover everything and it doesn't faze you at all, then you're not as concerned about her financially, because what you learn in becoming more successful is that there's a certain level of finances where more finances doesn't really change a damn thing, all right? Where more finances may simply mean, okay, I can invest in more properties or I can do more, but that doesn't really change your day-to-day life. It doesn't really enhance you as you stand right now. So as a man who's achieved much, you're not looking for, well, how can I add more money? You're looking for, how can this woman add to my day-to-day? How can she pour more love, positivity? How can I get the attraction and the sexual fulfillment as well, of course, in the right context, from this woman? Those are the things you're going to be more worried about. So I just feel that, focus on your table. That's really what it is. Like, just focus on I think it's a silly question. Focus on your table and focus on, do we have a connection? I don't give a damn what you, and the whole, even if she says, well, I bring this, I bring that. I don't care what you claim you bring to the table. If I'm not feeling that vibe with you, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of men have chosen the wrong partner because they're evaluating women the incorrect way. And they're setting themselves up for more failure. And that's why we're seeing a lot of unhealthy relationships. Or one of the reasons why. One of the reasons.
I would agree with you. It's funny. This past summer, I went and I visited my grandmother up in Georgia. And she was like, LaShondra, I thought by now, and I'm 29. She's like, I thought by now that you would have been married, you would have kids and this and that. It's grandma. So I'm expecting that to a certain degree. And I was just like, honestly, I'm so happy that I did not marry anyone, because throughout this process of these 29 years, especially in my 20s, I have learned so much more about myself. I've realized a lot in picking the partners I was picking, that I was picking a lot of them from a place of trauma, right? And picking them from a place of, trying to change someone, trying to fix someone, trying to focus my energy so much on someone else rather than myself. And in this process of being single and in solitude for the last year and a half, I've been able to really learn more about me. I've been really invested into my therapy, really invested into all of these things on purpose, right? And what I've noticed is I have some friends and I have some associates who, when I talk to them, right, about who are married, I see a lot of unhappy people, right?
Mm.
Right? They got married, they spent money on the wedding. And I also know some couples who are actually very happy. But I see a good amount who are not happy. And a lot of times once they've grown, they realize that the partner they picked, right, is not necessarily a bad partner, but not a partner that is in line with where
Yeah,
they're going now in their actual adult years, right? And sometimes if you don't know yourself, you can end up picking a partner based off of something that has nothing to do with who you actually are at the core of yourself, right?
absolutely.
Um, so I'm so happy that you mentioned that.
One more thing about the what you bring to the table question, and
Mm-hmm.
the how do you date question. When you ask that question, I feel like you're asking the person to prove to you why they are worth you trying to entertain. All right.
Mm,
And my mentality is I don't want you to prove a damn thing to me. I want you to be yourself. Be who
absolutely.
you are, and let's see if it's here or not. If the connection is there or not. I don't need you to prove nothing. Don't overdo nothing. Don't underdo nothing. Just
Mm-hmm.
be yourself. I just want you to walk in your true light, and let's see if we got it or we don't. That to me should be the focus. And I feel like if people focused on that, it would make things so much better and go so much smoother.
What is one piece of advice you have, okay, all right, for cuffing season?
For cuffing season,
Yes.
don't don't let a momentary season fool you into getting caught up with some individual that's going to be a nightmare for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Woo.
Don't let this cuffing season thing get to you. Like, yo, it's the winter. That's it. Forget it's the winter. It's just another month of the damn year. How about that? Let's not even put any kind of labels or expectations. It is a chance for you to prepare for next year. It is an opportunity to get ready for the holidays and enjoy yourself. If you got family, friends, if you by yourself, whatever, make the best of it as you are. Do not get caught up in the wrong situation. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there.
So they say men are very simple creatures, all right? And I laugh because there's truth to that, but I don't think it's always as simple as that. Now, there's a joke, or at least I've heard this joke, where all a man